for everything you provided for us. And dear Lord, just be with us as we go through these procedures today. Give us wisdom, Lord, to think and before we make decisions. And go with us, Lord, as we go through the rest of the committee meetings today. Thank you very much, Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Roll call.
Meredith Rayleigh. Here. Bill England. Bill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzard. Juliet Coates. Bradley Cobb.
Company.
Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Cody Fishinghawk. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Don Garvin. Chuck Hoskins Jr.
Here.
Hannah Boyer Jordan.
Present.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Chris Soap.
Here.
David Thornton. Kara Kalamar. We do have a quorum.
We have a quorum. If there be no objection on approval of the minutes, I would request we approve those in toto.
Second.
I move they all be approved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Minutes stand approved as written.
Could I ask that we kind of reorganize the agenda a little bit?
Amend the agenda.
Yes, we have several people back here that I think are set for resolutions on their nominations. I would ask that those be moved first and then that we hear the report second.
Okay, under new business,
Second.
it's items 1 and 2. Is that the one you're
And
talking
also the old business
about? The
item.
old business? Okay. And I got a second. Any discussion on amending the agenda to move those particular items to first order of business? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion stands to amend the agenda. So we will cover old business first, and that is a resolution confirming the renomination of Judge Bart Fite as a district court judge. Judge Fite, did you have something you wanted to say? Yes.
I make a motion that we approve this nomination.
I second it. Moved in second. Any discussion?
I would like to be put on for discussion. Yes.
You want Judge Fite to come forward?
No, I just want to tell you what I have done over the past month. One of the reasons that we talked about tabling this last month was to seek more information from people that utilize the tribal court system, i.e. the Indian child welfare workers and the court-appointed legal representation there in the court system. And I have actually visited with a number of people regarding Judge Fite and get back high recommendations that his appointment be confirmed. Most of the people that I encountered and talked with think very highly of the way that he handles juvenile cases, which is probably approximately 95% of his caseload. And in fact, Mr. Fite, when I was in the court system as a judge, was the prosecutor, and he has the heart for those juvenile cases. But I just wanted to make sure that that was also the thought of the people that worked in the court system. And so I would ask you all to consider his reappointment. I know that there are some of you that have expressed some concerns about some particular cases, but we don't want to be viewed like the folks in the Senate that take one case at heart. We need to look at the total picture, and the total picture is that Judge Fite has done a good job. He's also involved with the drug court, and I understand has good reviews from the work that he's done in the drug court. So I hope you'll join me in this renomination of Mr. Fite for the associate. Well, you're district judge's position for another 4 years.
While we're in discussion, Judge Fite, did you want to make a comment?
I just wanted to say how much I enjoy this job and take it very seriously, and would appreciate your all's consideration in the nomination again. It's one of my favorite things that I do in the practice of law. That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? All in favor of confirming the renomination of Bart Height, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for coming today. The next is under new business. Item 1 is a resolution authorizing confirmation of Mitch Adwan as a member of the C&E board.
I make a motion to be approved.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Mr. Stewart, did you want to say a word or two?
I just want to introduce Mitch is here. Mitch is, of course, Cherokee and from Gore, Oklahoma, and has a tremendous amount of experience in real estate and development and a lot of different businesses over his life. And so very interested in the Cherokee Nation. Would you like to say anything, Mitch?
I did not. I really just appreciate the opportunity to become deeper involved in my culture, and that I'm very, very, very proud of, and to help work collectively with everyone to build, continue to build the Cherokee Nation as best I can, and to help David and give whatever advice I might have and any things to help. So I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm very honored to even be considered. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here today. Any other questions, comments?
Please, anything you have, any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions or comments from Mr.
I'd rather
Adwan?
have questions than comments.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
And congratulations. Item 2 is a resolution confirming the nomination of Jason Terrell as an editorial board member of the Cherokee Phoenix. Ms. Watts, are you introducing him?
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Brian Pollard, come on forward. This is Jason Terrell. Brian Pollard, our editor of the Cherokee Phoenix. After we made the amendments to the Free Press Act, we concurred that Jason would be an excellent candidate for one of our potential seats, which is one we nominate. I know his resume speaks for itself, but Jason would be happy to answer any questions.
Are you making a motion to approve?
So make a motion to approve.
Second.
In a second. Now discussion. Any questions for Mr. Adwan? Mr. Terrell? Sorry about that. In front of you is the resolution. There's been some changes on it, so that's the one that we need to approve. The reason that we have a different one than what's in the book is that it includes his term, how long he will be serving. 5 years. And the other correction, and then there's the number of the legislative act that's corrected. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Thank you. I look forward to serving.
Thanks for being here today. Okay, now back on to the real agenda. Reports is Ms. Wright with Marshal Service.
I believe you have my report for the month, so I'll entertain questions if you have any questions over it.
Yes, Mr. Hoskins?
Is the flag case sufficiently disposed of that you can discuss it at committee?
Criminally, it is. I don't know if there be any civil action. I know Diane has some reservations of whether it will have some civil action.
I guess in the interest of what you just said, I'd defer my questions to later. I do have a lot of questions about it, but I defer it till we know we're in the clear in terms of any civil.
And I don't know how long it will be when she perceives that there won't be a civil action on it. But the criminal side is dismissed.
Well, Mr. Hoskins, while we're in discussion on that, would you like for Diane to come forward?
Yeah, I would actually. Maybe she could speak to the time frame that we need to wait.
You know, it may very well be the statute of limitations, Mr. Hoskins, so, we can discuss it privately. I'm certainly willing to do that with any of you in an open meeting. I'd rather not until we either got something from that individual saying he wasn't going to sue us or until the statute passed. because I know that, there was some public comment and some of the things encouraging him to do that, so I don't know whether or not he will.
Thank you, Ms. Chair.
Mr. So?
Yeah, I understand that there's potentially some video of the actual event. Is it possible that we could take a look at that sometime, either in a private meeting or?
It would be evidence. It would be evidence. It might very well be that we could show it to you privately. I've got the disc, the video disc. I think they went to the ADA, who made the decision not to prosecute. I've got them for use in case there is a civil suit. Let me think about that, but I think that we probably could.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Sharon and Diane. Next report is Ms. Hammond's.
I shouldn't have even.
Next two reports, I guess.
You have my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions. It's been, of course, a very busy month for us, and I don't remember now if we included the poultry decision on that report or if that was submitted before that happened after the deadline. Is it not on there?
I think it's afterwards.
Okay. You all know, and I've probably had a chance to read Judge Frizzell's opinion and order in the poultry lawsuit. We were not a party to that case. We had chosen not to become a party. The state of Oklahoma had sued various Arkansas poultry defendants for pollution of the Illinois River watershed. The defendants filed a motion to dismiss last Halloween, claiming that the Cherokee Nation was an indispensable party because we actually own the water. Well, of course, we believe that. That's been part of our goals for some time, is to have our rights in the water acknowledged within the jurisdictional area. The decision that we arrived at in that litigation was to come to an agreement with the state of Oklahoma, allowing them to prosecute the claims for pollution on our behalf, certainly not to transfer any resources or rights or ownership to them, but just to allow them to prosecute those claims on our behalf. I entered into an agreement with the Attorney General for the state of Oklahoma to do that. Judge Frizzell wouldn't accept that agreement, and in fact held that it was invalid. I don't believe that he had the authority to say whether or not anything was valid under tribal law, but he did. That's the bad news side of the opinion, I guess. The good news side of the opinion is he held that we had a substantial interest in the water in the Illinois River watershed. There's some very, very good language in there, and he adopted or seemed to cite with authority and with favor articles by Ty Helton and some of the theories that we've proposed, that the 5 tribes have even greater rights to the water than other Indian tribes across the nation because of the way we have acquired the land. So for us, that is a very good thing to have our water rights acknowledged. Now, of course, the more difficult question, or another difficult question, comes in: what do we do next? The state of Oklahoma lost not all of the claims against the poultry defendants, but all the legal claims. That just means claims that they could get damages for. They still have their equitable claims, claims that they can get injunctive relief for. So the state of Oklahoma wants us to do certain things. The poultry defendants want us to do certain things. We've got to look at all aspects, everything involved, all the factors, and do what's best for our sovereignty, protecting our interest, and also protecting that resource, and making sure that that watershed is there for not only our use, but our descendants and their descendants' use. The other thing, I guess, that has happened that's probably not on your report is the letter decision, although that may not have been, the letter decision by Mr. Echohawk regarding the United Keturah Band being a successor in interest coexistent with the Cherokee Nation to the historic Cherokee Nation. Our lawyers in Washington have filed a letter application with Interior asking that that be reconsidered, and that's still pending. So I'll answer any questions that I can on those or any of the topics in our report or anything else.
Mr. Buzzard?
Diane, but the ruling that Good for Sale had about 5 tribes having the rights of the water rights. What is this a favorable ruling in regard to the water rights of Spavanon and Uchi?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The city of Tulsa.
It is. And what does that mean? I mean, that's the more complex question. I don't know. I mean, that's something that we've got to consider is what this means for all of those. What does it mean for our relationship with the Corps of Engineers, Fort Gibson, all of the different waterways, all sorts of ramifications. What does it mean with the relationship to the United States? We should have been acting, of course, as trustee for those resources. A variety of questions come to mind, and I don't have the answers on any of those things yet.
And then a follow-up question. How long do you anticipate an opinion out of the courts about the UKB and Cherokee Nation is successful?
It's not in court yet. It's still within the Department of Interior, and I don't know. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Hoskins?
Speaker. With respect to the water rights decision, apart from the water rights aspect of that decision, there's the issue of could we assign our rights to the state of Oklahoma? And the judge said no.
He said
not as we did it.
He said we couldn't assign the right. I think that he misunderstood what we were doing. I think that I've joked here before this body. I know that I've joked in public that certainly I know better historically, Dr. Coates, than to try to give away any resource of the Cherokee Nation without approval, because bad things happen to people who do that. Real bad things. I certainly don't want to go the way of Major Ridge and Doublehead. So I know better than to do that, nor would I have done that. What I was doing, and the reason the Attorney General for Oklahoma and I did it the way we did it, was we were just talking about who was going to prosecute the claim, what lawyer was going to assert the claim. There were issues on the state side. If it was a cooperative agreement, it had to go through certain machinations. General Edmondson believed that it was not that. Certainly on our side, part of my constitutional and statutory duties are directing who can prosecute claims for us. And I believe I had the authority to do that. That's why it was an attorney-to-attorney agreement, and he didn't see it that way. That's correct.
But the judge thought he looked at it as sort of a compact type relationship. He seemed to suggest we had to go through the BIA. Is that right?
He mentioned that.
So he thought it was defective as a matter of state law on the state side, that it didn't go through the legislature and the governor. Is that right?
Yes.
And then
the Joint Committee, yes.
And then it also didn't go through the BIA.
He mentioned the BIA. I probably need to reread that to see exactly what it said. He almost seemed to be saying that we didn't do it according to tribal law, and then he did mention the BIA too. And perhaps he was confused, they still have to approve leases on trust land and that sort of thing.
He seemed confused, and it seems like a pretty narrow issue, and I'm wondering, is the Attorney General going to appeal that narrow aspect of the ruling? Do you have any sense of that?
I don't know. I don't know what they plan to do about that.
And does it have any implications for any? I mean, I'm not aware of another time where we've assigned some very narrow rights in a lawsuit to the state. But I don't know that it comes up very often, but it seems to me that we've kind of been a little hamstrung here for what to do in the future.
Yeah. It was a very unique situation. Personally, the risk of reopening the entire thing to attack that might not be something we would want to do. I think it was a very, very unique agreement tailored for that lawsuit. The state of Oklahoma, it might be a different perspective. I don't know if they will appeal it or not.
Do we have a time frame within which we have to decide whether we're going to intervene in the suit?
The case is still set for trial in September. The state will have a very, very short time in which to do anything about that opinion and order, and I anticipate they will probably do it either this week or the beginning of next week. So we have a short time frame. And, you know, even whether or not the court would allow us to, if we chose to, try to become a full party, I don't know.
All right, thank you, Mitch.
Any other questions for Ms. Hammond? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
GEG?
I was just going to stay here. There's not much new. As I told you last time, the federal prosecutors had decided there was nothing there for, or at the level that they wanted to go forward and prosecute, and we're still in the process of trying to get some documentation from them that they acquired in the course of that prosecution. Or investigation, I should say.
Questions on GEG? Thanks.
Thank you.
For its election commission, we do have their report. Looks like they're working on bad addresses. There isn't anyone from the election commission here, right? Okay, we'll move on to number 5, tax commission. Oh, yes.
I got a question for election commission. Do we wait till they're here to answer?
We can pose it to them.
Okay, my question is, I have a lot of people asking me why and how does the at-large voters vote. I've had the question sent out asking how many at-large voters are there? Are there a greater percent at-large voters, or are there a greater percent local voters? And several people make the comment, why don't the large people have to come to telephone vote? Because if we in Africa want to vote president, we have to come to the states to vote. And our Cherokee Nation is here in 14 counties, not in Texas or Mississippi or California, wherever. So we'd like to know how many at-large voters there are. What percentage do they play in electing our chief? So what the people are telling me, well, we got people from out of the country that's electing our chief and don't even know where California is.
Okay.
So that's the question I'm getting.
Mr. Baker, Ms. Coates, did you want to comment?
These are the same sorts of rumors that I've been hearing for 30 years or longer. The last election, I think about 13,000 people voted. Less than 3,000 of those were from out of state, so it was less than a quarter. 75% were from within boundaries who voted. So the charge that the out-of-state people are electing the chief is absolutely unfounded. Does not impact the election as much. I've met very few at-large people who don't know where Tahlequah is. And with all respect, I think these are prejudicial sorts of comments that have been around for decades, literally, and are based on bad information.
Baker, did you want to comment?
I agree that those comments have been around for a long, long time. Because for many years when I lived in Oklahoma City, I left my address at my parents within the Cherokee Nation because I was concerned that our votes, if we looked outside the nation, our vote would be disenfranchised. We could no longer vote. Although I had a real interest in what was happening in the Cherokee Nation. But the actual election numbers, as Councilor Coates pointed out, we can look at the last election and see there was only around 3,000 that voted at large.
Mr. Hoskin, did you have a question?
I do have a question of Mr. Hembry. The Constitution enfranchises at-large voters, but it doesn't guarantee them an absentee ballot, does it expressly? It just says they can vote, doesn't say where they can vote. Is that right?
Sure, and you're right, but my opinion is that you need to be very careful in saying, well, you have to come to Tahlequah to vote. Because one thing is that you have to treat all citizens, and they are citizens of the nation, equally. You have to, they have to be equal protection under the law. And if you're going to allow for a person residing in the 14th county area to have an absentee ballot, you're going to have to allow someone from the at large to have an absentee ballot to vote. Otherwise, you're treating similarly situated citizens differently and unequally. The only way that you would be able to do that is just to outlaw absentee ballots altogether, and I would highly not recommend that. The purposes for elections is to facilitate voter participation, and we should go extra lengths to increase voter participation because you want a large segment of your population to elect your leader.
Is it fair to say that if we wanted to disenfranchise the at-large voters, we would have to do so through amending the Constitution? In other words, the Constitution protects their right to vote and implicitly protects their right to vote by absentee, since we're affording it to other citizens.
Sure, yeah, and in the same way with it just says citizens. Will be. I don't have the Constitution here in front of me, but it also specifically says that where in franchises, at-large voters is that they get to elect two individuals to represent their interest. Okay, but all citizens have the right to vote, and we pass laws to allow the process by which that happens: registration, etc., absentee ballots. And if we're going to allow absentee ballots for residents within the 14 county areas, we must allow absentee ballots for at-large voters.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Camelot?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think there is a misconception about the actual percentage of at-large voters and the influence they have. Part of it is because I think a lot of folks do vote by absentee even if they're in district. And then we have a significant number that are right there in Tulsa, even though they're outside the jurisdiction. They're still fairly active in the Cherokee Nation community-wise. But I believe it was the former editor of the Cherokee Phoenix, Dan Agent, that did an excellent article after the last election that actually researched using the statistics from the Election Commission, that elections data plus previous elections data showing the breakdown of at-large versus in-state, Oklahoma, outside the jurisdiction and into the jurisdiction, and it showed to me that there was a trend that it was not even controlled by at-large. Not that that's bad necessarily inherently. I mean, there's another whole discussion about how engaged our voters is, and at what point does the government have the responsibility for, we can't force anyone to the polls. So at what point do the folks that are complaining and are frustrated, what point do they have responsibility for making sure that their families are registered and actually going to vote? Because what's alarming to me, and I think to this body, it's consistently, I think, former Chief Ross Swimmer and his wife brought it up, even when he ran, it was about 14,000 people, and today it's about 14,000 people, even though our population's grown. I don't know what to do. It is frustrating, but I think focusing those energies on at-large people is a misconception. I don't think it's their issue. I think it's something that we have to take personal responsibility for in what we do. So, thank you, Madam Speaker.
Ms. Coates?
I just wanted to sort of observe that, having heard these kinds of comments for decades, I really feel like one of the things that needs to happen is that the people locally need to have a better sense of who the at-large people are, and vice versa. And just that, so that we can dispel some of these misconceptions on both sides about who's controlling what and what others are like and so forth. I think most at-large people are relatives of people who are here, and they're pretty similar to folks who are here in many respects. And I just wanted to say that this is one of the roles that I think that the at-large organizations can really play, is to make these kinds of connects with the local populations, and that we need to try to find programs and ways in which we can facilitate that.
Would Would it be possible that we ask the election commission to come to our next meeting so that we can ask them some of these very questions?
Yeah, would you call the chairman and ask if he or someone can come and answer these types of questions?
And would we be able to enlighten him as to the questions that Councilman Snell has so that he can come prepared with numbers?
I'll forward a copy of that.
Any other comments? Now, Curtis, now.
How does these large voters, do they got to request the absentee ballot, or are they just sent out at large, or what? How do they get the ballot?
What's the process? What's the process to receiving that large ballot?
Right, yeah.
Anything else? It's going.
Besides the process, I'd like to, I may not be well, the election commission manager, but I'd like them to go over the legality of who can vote in the nation, who votes out the nation again. That's something that we really put out there so people know. And were there any changes after the last election that would change the legality of them voting outside or inside the nation?
Ask their attorney, Mr. Corey. Going to hold. Any other questions? Okay, good questions, Curtis, thank you. Ms. Swift, Tax Commission, Ms. Swifton's out of town. Melanie, is there anyone here, or did you want to report anything? She provided us a report.
I would just offer if there's any questions, I can make sure to follow up on those from Sharon's report.
Questions? Comments? Yes, Mr. Butler?
Just a comment, ma'am. I understand we're starting that tag office, or the addition to the career services building, and I take it that the last budget and all. Well, let me back up a little bit. Do we need to get the permission from the housing authority to put a tag office there?
From the
Because I
housing
saw that
authority?
on their agenda last month.
Well, it may be that we are doing some renovations to their building, and I believe that is where their discussion is taking place, is related to their building.
You don't foresee any glitches in that?
I don't foresee any problems with that. I'll check with David Sutherland, though, to
Because
see.
I've been telling those people to get the tag office there. I'd like to see it follow through.
There was some back and forth as to whether approval needed to take place since it was their building, but.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you.
Ms. Hanby, self-governance. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Your daughter sure sang a beautiful song.
Oh, well, thank you. I'd like to take credit for that, but I'm afraid I can't.
Prove it.
I guess I did give birth to her. I maybe take that. You have my report. I have a few things I'd like to update you on recently. Some developments that are not included in this particular report. We attended the Self-Governance Advisory Committees, the joint meeting between DOI and IHS last week. And yesterday we completed or I shouldn't say we completed, we held DOI negotiations. We had the regional office as well as the self-governance office from DC present, and we went over some issues for DOI. As part of our meetings last week, we met with Federal Highway and had our road staff on conference call to discuss the possibility of going directly with Federal Highway to receive not only our Recovery Act funds, but also our regular funding. We had started pursuing the ARA funds from Federal Highway. I believe there were some questions about that a couple of months ago, and We pursued that, looked at the pros and cons. We received word back from Federal Highway that they did not want to split ARA funds and where you get your regular funding. Our regular funding agreement ends for roads, ends 9/30 of this year. We were looking at going directly with Federal Highway anyway, so we met with administration on Monday and reviewed the pros and cons and decided that we would go directly with Federal Highway for both Recovery Act and our regular funds. So we have some negotiations starting next Tuesday. I also asked Michael to join me today in case there are any questions in that regard, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have. But we're just beginning that process and looking at the agreement that Federal Highway has, the template that's out there, revising some of that language to meet our specific needs, and then we'll get with them to go over those specifics.
Any questions? Yes, Mr. Buzzard?
Vicki, do you anticipate this to be a long process to get done?
I hope not. We have actually, one thing that was encouraging to me when we were on the phone with Bob Sparrow, who's with Federal Highway, we posed a few questions that we had. He knows that we are wanting to hurry and get our Recovery Act funds. One of our questions was, as soon as we get the agreement, do we have to wait until 10/1 when that regular agreement becomes effective in order to get our ARA funds? And he didn't think so. And keep in mind that all of this is new. We're not the only tribe that's also looking at pursuing that. There's the Osage, the Chickasaw are also interested, and some other tribes. But it's a new process, so they give us their thoughts on that, but I don't think they know all of the details at this point either.
I wonder about some of the other tribes that have already gone to Federal Highway. Did they get their recovery funds through Federal Highway?
Yes.
They did?
Yes.
So it sounds like the process...
And they've already received their money.
Okay. So it sounds like the process is already there, and if we like what they've got on paper, then it shouldn't take us long to do the contract or negotiations. We
would hope not.
One more question. Does DOI have any authority, or are they involved with this Federal Highway process?
Well, that's a good question. During our negotiation meeting yesterday, we formally let them know that that was what we were going to pursue, and they asked some questions about our authority to continue, if we've received payment for certain projects that will be ongoing. We've received the money through VIA, but we'll still be continuing to do that work. They asked some questions about that, and if they even posed if we needed an agreement with them to carry out those functions. And our position is no, we don't. We already have that authority within the law and also within our funding agreement. And we discussed that with them. So then they brought up the issue of, is there an agreement between Federal Highway and VIA? And we said that doesn't pertain to us.
And just one more question, Dick, and you may or may not know this. Have other tribes that have a contract with Federal Highway, have they received those recovery funds?
Yes.
They have. Mm-hmm. So the process is done. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions, comments for Ms. Henry?
Another update, just quickly on ARA funds. The other funds that we received through DOI, we did a 638 contract for the DOL portion of our 477 funds, and we have been trying to get an agreement for child care. At the meeting last week, there were issues that were raised about the Lynn Forsh's group doing a 638 contract with tribes, and that they had issues with that. And so the one area that tried to get money to us has now had their hands slapped for for getting those documents out. So there's some internal issues at DOI in that regard, but we're trying to work through to get an agreement on childcare. So there is a hold up there. On the IHS side, we have submitted the documents for the equipment and also the M&I projects, and it's my understanding those are actually in process, and we should be receiving something shortly on those. However, on sanitation facilities, we have one project that's coming through, it's an EPA project that's being funded through IHS. And we have about 13 other projects that are directly from IHS. We've been trying to work on a construction project agreement to get those funds in. When I was in DC last week, I spoke with the gentleman that was over that program, and they had released the agreement to the area offices. So we got started on that agreement, and as of yesterday, we were told hold everything. There's issues with that agreement, and so it seems like we're back to square one again. So I have a call in to Ron Ferguson, who's over that. We've been working diligently to get those funds in here, and it's just been a very frustrating experience at this point. But
I have a question back to the road program, the one on the IHS, Vicki. And I guess maybe this question may be more for Michael. I may not be here next week for our meeting, but what plans do we have in place to go ahead and continue with road construction projects if we don't receive those recovery funds in a timely manner, say within the next 90 days? Are we just going to shut down road construction, Michael, or do you have alternate plans to let some contracts out without those recovery funds?
The recovery projects have been identified for to be funded with our funds.
Yes.
Will be on hold. We cannot advance fund them, or we've got to have the money here.
So if we don't get the money for 6 months, are we not going to be doing any construction? So what
Not on those projects. Now, our regularly funded projects, they are moving just like they have always.
So do you have
no
some
change in those at all.
So besides the recovery fund projects, do you have other projects that you're ready to lay?
You bet.
Okay, good. That's my question.
Yes, most definitely.
And the other question on the IHS, Vicki, is that the EPA project for the Kenwood Sewer Lagoon Center, or which project is it? That is.
the Oaks.
Thanks.
That's the Oaks project.
Okay. The Oaks project? Oh, okay.
Anything else, Mr. Buzzard?
That's all. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Hanby? Thank you, Vicki. Good report. Gaming Commission, Hummingbird. Well, nice to see you again, Mr. Hummingbird.
Glad you could see.
Yeah, me too.
I hope my report made it into the packets this month. In addition to what I've contained in there, I would like to reiterate an invitation that I hope you received a flyer on, which is to the National Tribal Gaming Commissioners annual, the fall conference, which will be held September 22nd through 24th at the soon-to-be Hard Rock Casino Hotel and Resort in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we will be descending on Hard Rock in mass. We'll have about 200 people just like me running around the hotel and casino. So ought to be a fun time.
200 just like you, did you say?
That's a yes.
Is that what you said?
Give or take.
I'm aware of these.
Any questions for Mr. Hummingbird?
Loaded questions today. Yes, sir.
I got a comment or a question, rather. I thought we was getting Cherokee written on one of them signs up there somewhere or another. The only thing I see Cherokee is that old motel out there about to fall in. It's got a little Cherokee sign. Is that all we identified by?
To be honest with you, I don't know. That would probably, I'll have to defer that one. I'm going to pass the buck to CNE on that one. Gina might be able to, I hate to defer to Fleck, but I don't know about the signage.
Say that once. Thank you.
Well,
Do you have anything further, Mr. Hummingbird?
that's it, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Henry, convocation.
Yes.
You're ready to roll, right?
We're getting closer. I believe it was it Elizabeth or Chrissy that finished Title 43? Yeah, Elizabeth did. Recently completed Title 43 that makes several titles that are ready to go to the printer. Mr. Morton and I met after last meeting, mapped out a strategy to keep plugging away at it. You know, as long as progress is being made. You know, obviously we've had a lot of issues, but thanks to the invaluable help of the AG's office, you know, it is getting done. So progress is being made.
Do you have a projection?
I don't want to make a liar out of myself again. Okay. We will work diligently each month to at least get 1 or 2 titles done a month. And you know, we're and many titles don't need anything at all. So we are closer to the finish than we are to the beginning. And I think we'll just continue to make
Good lawyer answer. Ms. County Wise?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I understand your reasoning behind not committing to date, because this has been ongoing.
We've had several issues that we pop up here recently.
You're expecting about 2 chapters a month. So where are we at? Number of chapters done?
I'm going to say we got about, and Nathan maybe might come up and Elizabeth too, that we have about, I want to say about 8 to 10 titles left. Is that a fair statement?
That's about it. I think the entire volume 1's been done for a while.
Yeah.
I've been checking with the Gaming Commission because they have some changes that they want to put in, and I kind of slowed down the process a little bit on Title 4 because if we codify and then a month later change Title 4, I was trying to get that in under the mark. And so Mr. Hummingbird has been very helpful, and I think we're the 3 of us who will look at a final draft within the month, and we'll have Title 4 out of the way too, which is one of the larger titles, and the one that has had the most, one of the most revisions in the last 10 years. So it's one of the big ones.
And Mr. Hummingbird's helping you, did you say?
Yes. He's doing the lion's share of the work. Now we have to proofread it.
That's what I do every day.
Thanks for helping.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So is this just logistically, because I still have people that want to access our stuff online, is this also what we're waiting on for Legistar 2 as well?
Well, they are two separate projects. Okay. Now, codification, we're getting the bills ready to go to be sent to a printer. They will also be put on Legistar.
Okay.
And I know the work is continuing almost on a daily basis on Legistar. And so portions of Legistar are, you know, probably the vast majority of Legistar should be ready to go. Okay, but you know, although they work hand in hand, they're not necessarily the same product.
Will you have a launch date on Legistar? Is that what we'll do publicly, or how will that work?
We don't have a launch date because there's some technical issues.
Okay, I thought they were all tied. Thank you.
Any other comments on codification? Thank you, Todd. Ms. Shelley Butler Allen, Cherokee Nation Education Corporation. Thank you for being here.
Spirit and body. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Well, you all have my report, and if there are any questions, I'm here to answer them for you. I would also, if I could ask before we have the questions, I'd once again like to introduce Ms. Kimberly Gilliland, who is the newly appointed president of our board. Now, you all passed it in full council in December, but she's been really actively engaged in keeping us busy. So just once again, wanted to introduce her.
She
She's
want to make a
working.
comment, Ms.
Oh.
Dillon? Is Shelley working you?
Well, actually, we're working each other really hard.
Did you want to make a comment?
I think Shelley has something.
All right. Okay. Dr. Cobb?
I just wanted to briefly expand on when we can see some of this database
The database.
available to
Oh, good,
the
yeah.
general citizenry.
The Cherokee Language Dictionary database is going to, we're planning on launching it during the holidays.
Oh, really?
We have gotten into some technical difficulties in terms of programming it into the site, the website, but we're correcting that. So that's our goal, is to push that project.
And that includes the words and phrases, the 2,000 strings. And
Now, I'm not sure. I asked
Dr. Cobb,
Kimberly
can you
to.
speak up? Bill John can't hear.
Okay.
The words and phrases are a separate issue. Currently, our computers are written in Unicode and operating systems.
Can you come forward?
Oh.
Sorry, we can't.
We're learning this.
We can't hear up here very well.
What the strings and phrases are is currently our operating systems in Unicode are written in English. What this is doing is helping us move toward the direction of making a complete conversion to Cherokee. So I'll use the Immersion School as an example. They interact with each other using iChat, which is a video and audio program that allows them to communicate live wherever they are. However, the operating system and the commands are in English. So these phrases are going to help that conversion.
Thank you. I can honestly tell you that's the first time in my life someone's asked me to speak up.
Oh. Thanks to Mr. Baker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Brown? Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Good report.
What up?
The old business we've already worked on that one. Down to item 3 under new business, a resolution authorizing participation in 2010 IHS joint venture construction program. Dr. Cobb.
This is basically what it says. It's they need authorization for the Cherokee National Health Service to participate in a joint venture regarding a construction program. I also want to add that Councilor Jordan, Councilor Fishing Hawk, Councilor Critton, and Councilor Bill John Baker want to be added as co-sponsors to this, along with Councilor Fulbright. And I guess if there's any questions, I'm sure Melissa can. And I would move for approval on that.
Second. Moved in second. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Buzzard.
I wasn't involved with your meeting, Dr. Cobb, and I have some concerns. I support the joint venture, but I have been advocating for a clinic in Jay, and I certainly don't want this to take away from it. Now, I've got the email from Melissa explaining the processes of it. I wish I would have been involved with your committee when you discussed this, because I do have concerns. I have told people in Jay, and so has Councilor Snell, and so has the chief, that we're going to get a clinic there in the next 3 to 5 years, and I hope those are still on the plan. Now, does this mean that the J Clinic will not be involved with this process, Melissa?
I'll let Melissa answer that. I can tell you, joint ventures, as Councilor Hoskin is very well aware, joint venture is a whole different animal, but go ahead.
My question is the clinic in J going to be involved in the joint venture process this time, or is it just going to be the other building?
It won't be involved in the application for the joint venture, because you can only apply for one facility. So the facility itself will not be involved in the application. However, what we want to do is, because this project is bigger by 10 times possibly, which would bring that much more money into the tribe, that if we get this project, then we'll just build J Clinic. So timing-wise, it's not going to change anything.
My concern was, if we go for the larger project and don't get approved with it, does that leave the J Clinic? Would it have more of a chance to get approved at J Clinic? I guess there's no way of knowing that.
I have no idea.
Well, that's my concern. I support.
You know, the Chickasaw Nation was the first tribe that got approved for an actual hospital.
Yes.
And so, hopefully we're the second.
Okay, well, I just want to bring that up. I wish I could have been involved with it.
Well, just to clarify that, we did not discuss this in committee. So the reason that I put it forward is because the application process came out on Tuesday afternoon after Health Committee.
That's it.
And the application is due on August the 14th. And so in order to have the resolution, which is the resolution of support to apply for the grant, we had to have it on August 10th Tribal Council Committee meeting. And in order for it to go through a committee, then we just sent it to the Tribal Council and it was assigned to this committee. So it was not on Health Committee because we didn't have the application there.
Well, I certainly support the application to it. I think we need to do that for the whole of the Cherokee Nation, and I support that. But I also have constituents in our district up there that, we have been trying to get this for years, so.
Well, it's not going to affect Jay Clinic.
We still want to make sure that we get one together.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next question. Salina Clinic?
Actually, we're further along that way.
I don't know, I just teasing.
Well, I can tell you afterwards if you want.
I do have an update. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Item 4 is a resolution. This is a partial waiver of resolution for a partial waiver of sovereign immunity on the AT&T master agreement, which is attached to the resolution and made a part of it. Melanie, did you want to discuss that?
Sure, I can just open it up. The waiver is required to enter into the master agreement with AT&T providing connectivity, and it primarily came about because of our assumption of W.W. Hastings Hospital. And John James with Information Systems is here, and Elizabeth Odell, who drafted the resolution for your consideration, so they'd be happy to answer any questions you might have today.
Mr. James, I have a question. Are you comfortable with the agreement as it's written?
Yes, ma'am. It's
No.
basically, this will allow us right up front to increase our internet bandwidth. It'll also enable us to install the new health network. So this is really the first step in that.
So you don't see any issues that pop out at you in regard to the agreement?
No, ma'am. What I believe this will do is allow us to more rapidly do business with AT&T. Before we were with SBC, and SBC, of course, is now AT&T, and AT&T's changed the way they do their agreements. This will be a unified master agreement, which will cover all future agreements or all future bandwidth improvements that we make on our circuits.
Move for approval.
Second. Moved in second. Any other questions, comments? If not, thank you for being here. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 5 is an amendment to the Cherokee Nation election code. Election code, and the subcommittee has completed its work and submitted all of those recommended changes that are, and Shelley has included a red line as well as a cleaned up version under item 5. If there are any questions or comments, Mr. Henry, do you want to start us off?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. There's a couple items of unfinished business on this. First, in the red line version, you will notice that there was in the definition section a blank definition for political purposes. I have took a crack at defining what political purposes is. If you recall, I believe it was at the suggestion, a question of Councilor Cobb that the phone, internet, etc. at the Cherokee Nation not be used for political purposes, and you wanted a definition for what political purposes is. After looking at several states' definition of political purposes, this is what I've come up with. new 29, political purposes means actions or activities designed to influence the success or defeat of a candidate for elective office or any ballot measure. It's purposely meant to be broad, but specific enough that it goes to elections or ballot measures, okay? Because one could argue that every time you talk to a constituent, you're trying to get yourself elected. This has to deal with elections and ballot measures. And I think that this is, threads the needle where it's broad enough yet specific to what we want it to do to achieve the purposes. So I would recommend adding that section. Also, as a result of an email from Councilor Garvin, there needed to be there was kind of a loophole out there. And I've also forwarded that email to the Election Commission, but I hadn't heard back from them. The loophole is this. At your last election, there were, in accordance with the Cherokee Nation Constitution, if you were at large, you got a one chance only opportunity to pick a district, okay? And for instance, let's say I picked District 2, which is Adair County, okay? Well, under the law as it is today, District 2 now is 2 districts, okay? Divided up north and south. I've took a stab at language that would allow one time only 2011 elections for those at-large voters who had previously selected a district to choose a district that was originally part of their original district. Convoluted language, that's my explanation. The language, the English may not be completely perfect in it, but you just got handed what would be my attempt on that, and I would want the committee as a whole to consider this or similar type language.
Read that, Todd, and see if it makes sense to you.
It doesn't. I can already tell you that it doesn't. Okay, this is the way it should read. It'd be a new section to Section 21, Section 21, subsection C5. Okay, and this is the way it should read. At-large voters that have previously chosen districts. Registered voters who have previously selected a district within the jurisdictional boundaries in accordance with the Cherokee Nation Constitution may select, comma, at the time of the 2011 election, comma, strike shall choose. Just after that last comma, a district that was subsequently part of their original district. Strike out shall choose, add the commas in there. Right. Yeah, they can choose to be at-large district. It's not a requirement. They may choose a district that was part of the original.
So I just want to make sure I understand this. We're not allowing a second opportunity to choose a district. We're just saying if you have chose one and it's now split up, you can select either portion of the district to put
that you're originally part of.
Put your registration in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ms. Calmont.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I personally would like to request more time, just one more month. I don't think there's anything from a timeliness perspective that has to be passed this month, so I make a motion to table one more month.
A motion to table? Second. Are you seconding, Mr. Garvin?
I had one other point I wanted to make, but I can tell Colin.
Do we have a second on the table? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Will be tabled, carried if you want it next month?
Just 1 month, yes, please. Thank you.
I'm sorry about that. You can ask the question next time. Okay, item 6 is a request to change the October meetings. Council Garvin?
Kind of looking ahead, October, is the National Congress American Indian meeting, and also it kind of conflicts with the council meeting and committee meetings. So I think we're going to have to change the council meeting and the committee meetings. And I make a motion we change it to the following week, which would be October 19th for the council and those committee meetings that meet on the Monday, and also on the 20th for the other committee meetings. I make that motion that we change that.
Yes, Ms.
I would second with a friendly amendment. I would ask that those that are normally put on Tuesday for October be put on Monday afternoon at 1 and 2 o'clock. And that we not have Tuesday meetings.
I accept that.
Thank you.
Okay. So the recommendation is change all meetings to the 19th, including council and committee.
October 19th.
Shelley?
It's on Monday.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Just a point of information to clarify, it was everything on Monday the 19th.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker.
Mr. Garvin, Mr. Thornton, did you want to comment?
Instead of moving those dates from Tuesday to Monday, I don't see why we couldn't move them to the last Thursday of the month. Have it on this side in the mornings.
This motion's already.
That's just, I'll make a comment.
Yeah.
I second that.
Sorry about that, I didn't catch it on.
Harmony.
Are there any announcements?
You go there.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign.